All right. Good evening. I call the Parks Board meeting to order. I guess the first thing we're going to do is pledge allegiance. I think Mr. Perry needs to lead us tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. All right. Do we want to do these presentations, Mr. Gilley, before we do citizens' comments?
Well, we can do citizens' comments.
All right. Are we having citizens' comments tonight?
Mr. Chairman, we do not have any citizens' comments.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. All right, so we'll move on to the presentations recognition for Monica Lynch. And I get, is the Eagle presentation separate? It's Eagle Scout, okay.
This is Corporal Monica Lynch. She recently retired from the Hendersonville Police Department. Some of you have probably seen her in the parks for years. Some of you might have been given a ticket by her in the park for multiple infractions. I myself never received one, thank you. But I know people who did. There is no one, no employee of City Hall outside our department that cares more about our parks than Monica has over her time here. So many times in just my short time, she has helped me, helped our department, helped our parks system be safer. Improvements we've made to policies because of things that she does, proactive things that she did, kept people safe. I don't know if Mr. Lamar wants to come up and say any words on TV about her during his time or not. If you want to, you can. But I wanted to make sure we had a nice reception here for all the employees to come by and see her today, but I wanted to make sure as a Parks Department we recognized her as well tonight. So we got a little certificate of recognition. It says, in special recognition of her many years of service, care, and protection to the city of Hendersonville, and especially to our Hendersonville Parks Department. Corporal Lynch was dedicated to protecting our parks, and she diligently worked as a liaison between the park staff and the Hendersonville Parks Department. Because of Corporal Lynch, numerous crimes were solved and are prevented, vandalism, restitution was paid, and our parks were a safer place because of her work. The citizens of Hendersonville and the Hendersonville Parks Department are forever grateful for Corporal Monica Lynch and her service. Signed this date, 24th day of February 2020. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. You want to say anything? We'll let. No. You don't want to say anything? Yeah, I'll probably say something.
Well, it's been a real honor and privilege to serve the city and the citizens of this great community, and I was glad to be part of the Parks Department because we have some of the most beautiful parks in the state. And it was honored to work with Dave and then to work with Andy and all the staff. I mean, they've got an outstanding group that keeps the parks looking as beautiful as they do, and so much new stuff coming in. It's very exciting to watch that grow as well as the city's growing. So thank you very much.
I just want to say a couple of things I said this afternoon in front of everybody. Monica started early in my tenure, and back then it wasn't as popular to be a female police officer, and she had a tough road. And she did a good job, and then when we decided to try to take the officers into the park system, we had a really tough road, as y'all know. And so Monica stood by me thick and thin. We made some mistakes, and we kept on pushing, and now the police in the park is just an ordinary thing, and everybody thinks it's the greatest thing. But I appreciate her and stamina sticking with me through that thick and the thin. It was a lot of thin days. We were skating on thin ice a lot of days, but I appreciate her and appreciate the work she did in the park system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You want all three of us?
Where do you want us to?
Right there.
Okay. Right there, good. Tell us what to do.
All right. Two with and two without flash. Total of 4.
Monica, I want to personally thank you for your service. I played softball a lot, and I was around a lot with Dave when his tenure, and I remember when you first came in the park, and I do appreciate you helped pave the way for what he was talking about, getting police officers in the park, and I really appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Gilly, I guess Eagle Scout presentation.
Yes, sir. If you guys want to come on up here, Ben, and your family. While they're coming up, we've been lucky as a department to have several Eagle Scout projects done in the parks over the years. We've had a couple recently done at the Beatty Farm property. This is Mr. Ben Gettins. I'm going to read his certificate, but then I'm going to let Ben tell you more about what his project was. It was a good one. Jeremy Krejci is here with the Friends of Indian Lake Peninsula as well. He kind of coordinated, along with Jeremy and our department, any kind of service projects that they did. This says a certificate of recognition presented to Ben Gettins, Eagle Scout, in special recognition of his hard work cleaning and painting the barn on the Beatty Farm Park property. He worked to gather supplies, organize volunteers, cleaned up, pressure washed, and painted the barn to match the colors originally used by the Beatty family. But I'm going to let Ben tell you about it, and then we'll clap for you after that.
All right, so I think most of you already know what the Beatty property is, so I'm not going to go into detail about that. But on the property, there's the historic barn that had fallen into disrepair. And basically, my project was to fix up the exterior. We replaced old boards, we fixed gaps and doors, we cleared away rubble and overgrowth, and then primed and painted the wood to better preserve the barn for years to come. I raised around $900 for paint, supplies, lumber, and had over 50 different volunteers and at least 250 man-hours. I would like to thank, because obviously I didn't do this alone. So a few people in particular I'd like to thank. MBM Pro Washing did all of the pressure washing and cleaning on the outside for free to prep the surface. And then Sherwin-Williams and Home Depot both gave discounts or free supplies and materials. I'd also like to thank Brother Krejci for helping to set all the paperwork and things up between the parks and help me to know who I needed to contact throughout the project. And then obviously all of the different people that helped me along the way. There was a lot of things I learned from this project, obviously, but one thing that really stood out to me was that people are almost always willing to do whatever they can to help. And all you have to do is ask. It's always been very hard for me to ask people for help on these kinds of things, and especially asking for money to be able to purchase all of the materials and things was very hard. But everyone that I asked was very willing to help. Everyone at the city was very willing to help. And all of these things are definitely going to be something that I remember for a long time. And I actually live, to finish off, I live on the bottom of the peninsula that Beatty Farm is on, so every day I drive past it and get to see what I did as my Eagle project.
Ben, I want to thank you on behalf of our department and actually the whole city of Hendersonville for giving us something nice to look at. Appreciate you and your family being here tonight. I don't know if we got a picture of him up there, but Keith got one, so that we'll make sure you get that, and really appreciate all you've done. You take this home, frame it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Ben. Appreciate all your work, buddy. Approval of the minutes. Mr. Head first, Mr. White seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, Connect Committee report. That would be Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Connect Committee report is a handout at your desk. On the front page is the minutes, and on the back page is the program proposal. I want to thank everyone that's been a part of this committee, especially the 8 members of the 2 soccer clubs, for coming together and working over the past several months to come up with a plan that works for both clubs. I think what we voted on and agreed in that meeting the other night was a very positive step in the right direction for player development for our soccer clubs. We voted on some kind of one-night free trainings this spring for U5 through U8. That's a new addition. The goalkeeper training that was already approved in previous meetings. And then they've come up with a more detailed fall player development for those U5 through U8 starting this fall. The rec program is going to take that back to their board this coming month for a vote to kind of put that in place. But again, they all worked really well together to get this moving forward. I don't know if Andy or Mr. Pike want to add anything to that, but I think we are moving right along with this.
I will just say one thing, just being a part of it. I want to second what Mr. Long said. Those 2 clubs have come a long way in working out things that they needed to work out to work together, and it is definitely a great sign, and all the parties involved, including us as a parks system and them as 2 clubs working together for a common goal. I was very encouraged the other night. Any questions, comments? All right, let's see, old business, park project updates, Mr. Gilly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Really quickly, tomorrow we expect for the soccer LED lights installation to begin in the soccer complex. We have 2 fields that have been renovated, the infield's on Field 2 and Field 4 at Drakes Creek Park. Those renovations are finished, but the fields are not quite playable yet. I mean, after today, nothing's playable, but those are still kind of curing, so to speak, but we'll get people on those as soon as we can. You will notice landscaping at the park entrances on the main road, Gallatin Road, and at all the entrances at Drakes Creek is upgraded. If you give that a look when you go by there. There's several drainage projects that are going on. Our Public Works Department is helping us with, so as you go in the park, there's some parts of the grounds that are not perfectly manicured right now. Just know that we're making progress there towards hopefully some drainage fixes. And then we have signed contracts with HFR Design and Lowson Associates for inline hockey relocation and for a new master plan for Volunteer Park. So those 2 projects are moving forward as fast as we can move them. We also have begun to gather cost estimates for the berm and the protection at Mary's Magical Place. So you'll be seeing a lot of that over the next couple months in different committees and as the budget process goes on through the city. If anybody has any questions about any of those, I'll take them.
No questions? Mr. White?
What's the projected time frame for the hockey relocation? When do you think they'll be playing on that?
I can't tell you when they'll be playing over there. Our goal is to get construction documents and cost estimate back during this spring so that we can put a number in the budget for next year to start the project. So, you know, I don't even want to put a date on it, but I feel like if we can get through all that, I'd say within I don't want to say by the end of this calendar year, but I'd say hopefully within a year they could be, if we can start the project hopefully this summer.
Any more questions? All right. Fees for high school sport tournaments and events, Mr. Gilly?
Yes, sir. At our last meeting, we had some changes that were made, and you all kind of asked me to come back with needing to put into our guidelines some fees for sports that maybe didn't have them. If you'll look on page 8 of your packet, anything with an asterisk would be a new fee that we needed to come up with. These are for, again, these are for if a school team, the way you all passed it, if a school team is participating in the fundraiser event, they would not incur these fees. So the new ones would be for a fishing tournament, a cross-country meet, tennis tournament, lacrosse tournament, a rugby tournament, or ultimate Frisbee tournament, if the school clubs or the community clubs wanted to host those. So you all would have to approve this.
Would we need in a form of a motion?
Yes, you would need a
Correct.
motion to approve these added.
These fees are set, this is where we need to go as far as, this is a suggestion, or is
It's a
this what y'all come
suggestion,
up with?
you can change it,
Okay.
delete it.
I'll give y'all a few minutes to look over it real quick. Question, Jeremy?
Would this be for, just for future tournaments or anything that's on the books now? Are they going to be charged a fee?
We can do that however you want to do it. The way it's written, it would be immediate.
Okay.
This is an all-inclusive fee. It covers all facility fees and everything, this one fee? Or is there,
For these added ones, it would.
okay.
All right.
The difference between fundraiser and I guess, so what's the other option?
If you're participating in the tournament, you could be making money off of it, but your team is in it. If you're just running a tournament, then you're just making money.
Are we ready to make a motion on this, guys?
This may be up for discussion, but before a motion is out there, the top of the, or the middle of the page suggests fees where there either are none or per day, per field usage. There's also some options at the bottom. If we make a motion, are we making, I mean, would you like a motion on the fee and then a separate motion on how to incur the fee, or are we?
Those options at the bottom we picked for at the last meeting. They're really not something weird. You all basically picked number 2. You all did pick number 2. You all voted to approve that last meeting.
All right, so I just want to make sure I know what
Yes, sir.
we're discussing.
All you're voting on is the ones with asterisks, which will be an addition in the middle section.
All right, so I guess what we need a motion tonight, guys, if we want to approve these fees set how they are, and if we want to also, I guess we need to include in that, if we want to pick a date that we want to start these, or we want to start these immediately. So I will entertain a motion from anybody who wants to make it. Mr. Bold, you got a question?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I've got one more question. So say Hendersonville is hosting a city championship in cross-country that they're participating in. This fee is not applicable, or it is?
It's not, because
It's
they'd
not
be
because they're
participating in it.
participating. Okay, excellent.
Correct.
Thank you.
If I understand it right, just so we'll clear it up, if the person that's hosting the tournament, school, whatever, has a team participating in it, they do not incur this fee. It's only if they're using it as a fundraiser and they're running the tournament, or maybe not running it, but they're using it as a fundraiser and they're not participating.
Correct.
Okay.
So, are there, in these groups right here, are there currently any events on the books?
Yes.
That we could, if we institute this immediately, my concern there is, are we putting an undue financial burden on them and something they didn't expect to come? And maybe our motion needs to be that it would go into effect now, but not affect anything that was already on the books, maybe? So that the
Fine with
people
me.
that already have events that they've planned for are not now, after the fact, hit with a fee.
Sure.
If I can also add to that, for the grass fields, basically our soccer fields, rectangle fields, our only fee that we currently have is $1,000 entire complex rental fee. So we don't have an option if someone wants to come in and just do a 1 day on a field or two. I know we do have an event on the agenda tonight for approval, which would be a 1 day event on one field or 2 fields. So we don't really have a fee other than $1,000 for the entire complex at this point. So, I mean,
Right.
Yeah, I do think.
I'd be fine with that.
I do think it needs to be immediate with anything moving forward, but anything on the books, we can allow to.
Sure.
We can grandfather that in and move forward from there. And I will make that motion that we approve this as an immediate moving forward for anything new not currently on schedule.
All right, so Mr. White makes a motion going forward that these fees are for anything new, anything that's already on the books through this year that we've already passed, will not incur these fees till starting next year.
So
Mr. Hicks?
January 1st, 2021?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Head seconds it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. It passes. All right. Concession Use Agreement, Mr. Gilly.
Yes, sir. On page 9 and 10 and 11 of your packet, you all approved last June an agreement, a concession agreement that all our leagues were to sign if they wanted to operate a concession stand. That was last June. We gave this to all the leagues. It was due back last week, I believe, 14th. The Hendersonville Soccer Club has requested that the items on page 11 be excluded from paragraph paragraph 6. In paragraph 6 on page 9, it says the league agrees that all improvements to the concession facilities, including the additions, purchases, and installations of appliances or equipment, shall become the property of the city and may not be removed following the conclusion of the agreement. So the Hendersonville Soccer Club has asked for 2 things. They have asked for a sentence to be added, which is at the bottom of page 9. The equipment and appliances listed in Exhibit 1 shall be excluded from the provisions of this section. And then Exhibit 1 is page 11, where it lists equipment that they have in 2 concession stands, one at Drakes Creek Park and one at Volunteer Park. So that if for some reason they no longer operate a concession, one of those 2 concession stands, they would be taking that equipment out of the stand at that point. You all would, since this was something you approved and it's a change in the agreement, you all would have to approve this agreement as amended for the soccer club. I do feel like if you approve it for them, I think we would then have to go back to all the other leagues that signed the agreement and ask them if they would like to add an exhibit as well to it. The other thing that would come up is right now, if we have a flood, tornado, vandalism, theft, the city insurance currently would cover all this equipment, so that would be null and void at that point on this equipment that's listed. I think Mr. Szymanski with the soccer club is here. Y'all can, he doesn't have to answer any questions, but if y'all have them, he probably would.
Mr. Szymanski, why don't you come up and introduce yourself, just so if they do, they may not, you may.
He can kind of explain his board's position and let you all.
Turn your mic on.
Is that better? Yes. All right, my name is Todd Szymanski from Hendersonville Soccer League. Basically, when we got I think Dallas emailed it on the 7th to us, the agreements. I know we had it back in June of last year. The board wasn't sure if we're going to have the same agreements or not for this season. So what they decided to do, they had some questions on a few things in there. So what happened is, we have an attorney that we use just to look at any contracts that we have and have to sign, and we've never really ran into it that I've been aware of having a contract with the city. So when the attorney reviewed it, that was just one of his concerns on the equipment, because most of that stuff on there is stuff that we just bought last year for Arrowhead, and we're just looking for clarification in the contract. I know the intent's not there for the city to take it, but just the way it's worded is what the board was concerned on.
From the city's point of view, the reason why that paragraph is in there is because if something happens and a group no longer operates a stand, we have to protect ourselves and to be able to operate the stand the next day if we have games. The equipment on here is stuff that's easily replaceable. At first, then the soccer club asked us to strike the whole paragraph out, and we can't do that because they just paid for toilets in the bathrooms at Drakes Creek Park, and that would have meant they could take the toilets, which we couldn't have. So they came up with this proposal, Exhibit 1, of the equipment that they're talking about.
I guess my only question is this, Andy, I know we discussed this a little bit the other night, but, and you say, talking about flooding and any kind of catastrophe that would happen down there, the soccer club has paid for this product. I understand that. Our insurance would replace it, their insurance, how would that work?
As it stands right now, anything that is left at the park becomes park property. I'll give you an example. The high school baseball dugout club at Hendersonville bought a reel mower about 10 years ago for $10,000. They paid it. The city didn't buy it, but it's stored at the park, and it became park property. It's on the asset list of the city of Hendersonville. So if something happens to it, it's covered. By taking this out of the agreement, saying they're saying this is not park property, so therefore they would have to make sure, or they don't have to make sure, they just need to understand that if something happened, that would be on you to replace that.
I mean, would that also include like the golf carts we have and stuff like that?
Sure
I would assume,
would.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
So, do we have to vote on this tonight? I guess is one question. I know we're wanting something, I understand that, but what I'm asking is it something that you want to go back and check with your lawyer, stating with the insurance covering?
Yeah,
I just want to make sure you're okay on your end, and I don't want to put this off no longer than it has to be, but I certainly don't want to be without equipment if something was to happen, and I certainly don't want anybody, including us or y'all, to bear, I mean, $10,000 is a lot to bear, right, have to operate the next day if something was to happen. So, I mean, I don't really know where we want to go with this.
Well, I think soccer games start before the next Parks Board meeting.
They're going to start right after spring break. Was it 28th? March 28th is going yeah. But, I mean, the other concession stands are going to be open before then. So I think we kind of need to come to a decision across the board what we want to do with this.
Well, you got concession stands already open, not about to open, already open. Secondly, it's always been the understanding in the 25 plus years I've been in the park, when a league purchased anything such as a gator, it automatically becomes park property. The gator is serviced and maintained by the parks. If something breaks in the concession stand, a lot of times the maintenance guys fix it. So if you're going to allow them, there's at least another league in the park that has probably $50,000 worth of equipment, if not more. You're opening Pandora's box, Because then it's going to be, okay, what about baseball equipment? What about the football equipment? What about this? What about that? What about the sound system? I don't think you can do it. Because then somebody's going to get mad, and they're going to go in there, and they're going to take everything out, and then the next day, somebody's going to go to open it, and there ain't nothing there. Because it will happen. That will happen. If you allow this to happen, that will happen somewhere down the road. It may be next year, it may be 5 years, it may be 10 years, but that will happen. Mark my words.
Yeah, I feel like we've just talked about what kind of strides we've been making forward, specifically with your group and another group, and this doesn't feel good, right? I think I would like to give you guys an opportunity to go back and talk to your board and have them reconfirm that this is something that you really want us to vote on.
Right, I can do that. So just for clarification, so anything we do purchase will be the city's property then? Because I just want to convey this to the board.
What has been understood practice forever is anything that is bought by any group and left and stored at the park becomes park property. That's the way it's operated for forever. I mean, they've been up here longer. I've been in the park for my whole life, but some of them have been actually working in the park their whole time.
Yeah, and you know, this is not this procedure this has happened for a long time, very compatibly. You know, it's a partnership, right? And we're not looking to take your property. You know, we're just like you know, when the teams, the leagues, when we allow you guys to run your leagues on the city property, it's a partnership.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Jimmy?
Well, you know, when you look at everything, the amount of money it costs to maintain fields, the amount of money it costs to build fences, grass, all the things, the leagues give a fraction, and probably at best a small fraction, of what it costs to run that park. So, you know, if you put $10,000, $50,000 in the park and equipment over the course of the 10 years or whatever it may be, you're still not paying very much to be able to use the facilities in the park. And if we have to vote on it, my vote, or if we have to make a motion, I'll make a motion that this not be allowed, and that if they can't approve the concession agreement before the start of their season, they can't run the concession. That would be my motion.
So are you wanting to make that motion?
If there needs to be a motion made tonight, if somebody would like to table this and discuss this and they come back, that's fine, but that would be my motion.
Mr. Gilly, do you have a question?
No, I mean, I think before you suggested that they asked him if he wanted to go back to his board, and he said he could or would. My only concern would be we get down to Parks Board meeting is in March 23rd, is that correct? 1, 2, 3, 4. And they start games on March 28th. I just want to make sure we got something in place by March 28th.
All right.
I mean,
I think we need a motion, but I also, and I agree with what you're saying somewhat, Mr. Head, but I think we need to give, I'm like, in working with what I've been doing with soccer clubs, I would like to give you a chance to go back to your board.
Sure.
I really want this to be a teamwork effort, and I really want this to come off like we're all trying to work together, because nobody here is trying to, I can assure you, nobody up here and nobody in that park's trying to take anything away from anybody. We just all want to work together and be compatible and make it all work the best way we can make it work. So let's just let you go back, talk to your board, get with Mr. Gilly, and we'll and if y'all are okay, do we need a motion to table it till next time?
No, I don't think we need a motion. We just withdraw it for now, and if we need to put it back on the agenda in March, we will. If they still want to do this, then you can vote on it in March.
Okay,
And if they don't, then they can just send the agreement and we'll move on.
all right. We'll let you go back to your board, talk to them, tell them what we've kind of discussed, and then we will discuss it again, I guess, at the next board meeting.
Yeah, we'll do that. So
Okay.
so basically, the golf carts and anything else we buy too would be the property of the city. I just want to be able to explain this to the board. I mean, because I don't get a vote on the board. I just come here to represent what they want to have done. They get the fun job.
Go ahead, Keith, if you want. I mean, that's the way it's worked forever.
Right.
Anybody that's had assets that we store, that we help maintain, that multiple people use, at the end of the day, it's become park property.
All right.
If the flood came and it washed away your golf cart tomorrow, right now it's covered under city insurance.
Yeah, because it makes a difference as far as like when we're making motions and stuff for buying things. We just got to more consider it as a donation to the park.
Correct.
So we just have to make some new motions. But no, I appreciate your time for everyone looking at this, and thank you.
Mr. Smansky, just as a point of discussion, that this is the same understanding in every single public school.
Okay.
Anytime an organization, an individual that makes an infrastructure purchase or any upgrade to a facility, it is understood and automatically the property of the Board of Education. That's just part of it, and a lot of that's for liability reasons. If somebody donates something, it immediately gets a barcode and becomes part of the assets of the Sumner County Board of Education. And virtually every school district, that's so that at the end of a school year, a classroom doesn't get picked over, with a disgruntled teacher that leaves or something like that.
Sure.
And really, we got to remember while we're in the business, we're in the business to help the kids and make them a great experience. And if we start having arguments over coffee makers and things like that, we're way out of line. But there is a pattern there. This is not just a Hendersonville Parks thing. This is not just a picking on soccer thing or anything like that. This is the way that nonprofits typically work when you have organizations that are making improvements, particularly with infrastructure. So if your board wants to know why this is coming out of left field, it's been in place for 30-plus years, but it's also the way other nonprofits work.
Yeah.
At least the ones I'm familiar with.
Okay. I know one of the concerns that someone brought up was just, we have new equipment. They just want to make sure when they go there, it's not swapped out for something different. That's what was one of the main things in there. But I know it's not your intent, but just the way it was written, and after the attorney sent it, I had to come here and address you. But thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Mr. Gilly, you'll just correspond with Mr. Gilly, and if we need, he'll take it from there.
Okay.
So,
Thanks.
thank you. All right. I guess we're moving on to new business. WSL Senior Softball World Championships, Andrea Weiss.
All right, so Nathan Kendrick with WSL reached out to me a couple months ago wanting to know if they could bring their Senior Softball World Championship to our park. Obviously, he couldn't be here tonight. He resides in Florida, so I am speaking on his behalf. But he has been in contact with the Parks Department. He's also been in contact with David Winter with Civitan about partnering with them, and they've come to an agreement on that. He's also reached out to Barry Young with Tourism about them sponsoring the field rental fees, and I think Tourism is on board with that. Right now, he's expecting about 40 to 50 teams, but he thinks he can get up to around 80 teams. But he's waiting to see if this gets approved before he starts promoting it. So yeah, that's basically where things stand right now. I don't know if Keith, if you want to elaborate on this. I know you spoke with Nathan as well.
Yeah, we spoke about field assignments when this was going on. and told him the adult fields, dimensions and so forth, and he'd have to fit within those adult fields. If he gets 80, I'm not sure we got enough room. He may have to find another park, additional park, not another park, but an additional park, which I hope he does. But, you know, we've handled the senior women's tournaments in years past without any issue. I think this wouldn't be a problem at all. I think it'll be a good asset for the city. You know, we've got the extra home plates that we've got set up for this kind of division, kind of softball. You know, if they wanted to come in on Friday and start, a lot of the senior stuff we're starting in the mornings on Fridays. We can work on that too with him. So I think it'd be a good fit.
Mr. Keith, this is not like 50 and over competitive stuff. This is more like the senior women, a little bit older, like.
I'm not familiar with the WSL per se. I would say it'd be somewhat competitive. I think it won't be a recreation ball. They may have a recreation division, but I think there'll also be some competitive major division, gold divisions, however you want to say it, or however they split it out. But it's not rec ball. If you're coming from Florida to play softball, you're not going to.
Well, I kind of thought it was rec balls. I know that's becoming kind of big again. With him not being here, the one thing that I don't know, I know I'll let y'all, if y'all got any questions in a minute. The one thing I see is selling hats and shirts. How does that affect?
Well, there'll be a vendor fee.
Okay.
He'd have to pay through, Andrea would send him an invoice for vendors, depending on how many vendors he has set up. Like any other softball tournament, when they come and sell T-shirts for the Hendersonville High School, there's a vendor fee per vendor that he would have to pay for that.
Does anybody got any questions for anybody?
They've asked for two things to make sure that your staff. They've asked for water coolers in every dugout.
That's something we've got the policy of not filling them up anymore. We sort of got in the policy of we had enough coolers for all the dugouts, and years ago we sort of volunteered manpower to fill those up, and that takes a lot of time and effort and energy to do that. I think we can get enough coolers in the dugouts for them, but they'd have to have their own volunteers, and we could supply them ice and the water at the maintenance building, but that's something they'd have to fill up themselves.
A lot of times the tourism board has done that for the tournaments. They've kind of moved to just giving out water themselves to the umpires and people like that, and having the people go buy the water at the concession stand.
Yeah.
So
it got overburdened, to be honest with you. Trying to cover from 8 in the morning till 10 at night in the middle of the summer. I mean, it was a constant battle to keep them full.
I agree with you. If we approve this, I would want to make sure that was relayed back to Mr. Kendrick.
Yes. If Andrew, if you'll, we'll supply coolers and the water, but he'll have to do all the manpower, or his volunteers. Sounds like a good service hour for some high school kids.
Any more questions? Do I have a motion? Mr. Head motions? Jeremy seconds it. All in favor say aye. 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 All right, it passes. All right, rugby restroom sponsors, Brian Silkwood. Mr. Silkwood, come on up here and state your name.
Hey, I'm Brian Silkwood, kind of the head man in charge of the rugby team here in the Sumner County area, working on building the complex over by Durham Farms. So just kind of a brief, quick update. The rains kind of put us a little bit behind the schedule where we wanted to be, but we are slotted to hopefully start having games played out there first part of September. So pretty much mostly what we have left at this juncture is more dealing with the electrical piece, getting the electrical in, and then everything else can kind of fall in place after that. We'll probably look to put the final touches on the fields and the actual turf in probably mid-May to late June is our time frame, and then we're just going to let those fields hopefully have nobody on them for 3 months, let them get a good, good grow, nothing on them, and really good water. So, but I'm here tonight to talk to you about kind of our phase 2. Phase 1 for us ended up running more than what we expected, but our club has been able to fully fund everything at this juncture. So phase 1, unless something pops up out of the woodwork that I'm not aware of at this juncture, but I think most of that's behind me. Phase 1 is pretty much paid for from our side as far as what we have in commitments and raised and what the expenses we have left. So now we're kind of looking at Phase 2, which would be restrooms. And so we are in the early phases of trying to figure out a restroom facilities that would work, what that might look like, and how we could get those out there. And then we're also looking to try to figure out ways to get it paid for. And so what I'm asking for tonight from you all is approval to, similar to what we did and you all approved when I was here last year, of we had field sponsors. So we actually have a field sponsor for both of the fields already, and we're looking to ask them to have a similar type setup that we had for the field sponsors for the restroom facility itself. And Andy might be one to, or kind of give you guys a little bit more detail about exactly.
No, I would just say it's, I put the picture in your packet just as a reminder. Mr. Silkwood said it would be the same setup as is on the sign when they enter the park. These would be on the restroom. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, just going to be on the restroom.
So it just goes along with the sponsorship program that we passed. So it's just, he's following protocol by coming up here asking to post it.
It's pretty clean looking. It looks good. The picture does. I'm assuming we need a motion tonight to go ahead and pass this through.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anybody have a question?
I have the picture we've got. I'm just for reference, right? Because in the email it says that there's one sponsor,
right?
So there's just going to be one sponsor on this wall, and that's for the 10-year period.
Yeah, that is my goal.
Okay.
I will come back to you guys if I have to change that based on not getting interest. If, like, I guess my thought was, we feel like we probably have a good opportunity to get one for the full sponsorship. But again, we haven't gone to ask that yet because we didn't have approval to do so. But hopefully you guys, if we got 2 for 10 and we still kind of use the same similar size, sponsorship on the side, we thought you all might be okay with that. But that was only if we cannot get the actual 1 for 20. But the intent is to stay with 1 for 20, and we'd come back if we need to alter.
Any more questions? VA voting second. All in favor, say aye. Say bye. You need to be hurry. All right. And I guess you're still at the podium for the the Tennessee State High School Rugby Championship.
Yep. So our organization, not mine, but the Tennessee, the way kind of rugby works within the whole country, there's USA Rugby kind of oversees the whole national side for youth rugby sports. And then within USA, right up under them is the state of Tennessee. And then under the state of Tennessee follows my organization along with multiple others around the state that have high school and middle school programs. So what we are asking for is the approval to host the Tennessee State Championship tournament at Volunteer Park. We would need access to 2 fields during that time period, and it is a hard day. That's a date that can't be moved.
I guess my first question is, how does that date coincide with our dates?
Yeah, that's perfect. We've already made some arrangements with the soccer schedule to play everything over at Drakes Creek Park that weekend, so Volunteer Park would be open.
And I guess
my only question would be if Saturday is a rain out, would you move it to Sunday?
I'm not sure we have the ability to do it.
Okay.
I think our organization would have to, if it come to that, like we could tell far enough in advance, I'd have to figure something out, or I'd have to pay for the damage. It's one of the things where we have teams coming from all over the state. It's really hard for people from Memphis and Knoxville to really move the schedule around. And then right after that, you get into graduation. So
So we have Saturday reserved for this, pending approval and being passed. Sunday we do not have it reserved. We would probably play games Sunday for soccer. So if we need to look at doing that, we can make some arrangements as well. But.
Okay. It's good to know that there is a potential rainout if we had to do that.
Yeah, I would just need to know sooner than later your plan on that.
All right, my second question is, I know it's marked a not-for-profit, but we're charging $5 admission. Am I looking at that right?
So we would kind of, generally, this is also a fundraiser for us that would help go into the complex we're building. And so we'll be charging entry fees to non-players. Anybody that's not playing in the tournament would pay $5 for entrance into it as part of the fundraiser that we would be doing.
We probably need to change it to charitable fundraiser instead of not-for-profit.
Yeah,
And then on the back, at the top, charity would be the Sumner County Rugby, 501c3.
Correct. Sorry if I didn't.
So if we change that, what we voted on earlier tonight on the fees, would that have any impact on this?
We're not directly under.
They're not a school team.
We're
So
not directly associated with one school, although pretty much everybody on our teams come from Beach, Station Camp in Hendersonville, and Hawkins Middle School in Ellis. So, I mean,
their fee would be $75 per field per day.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Right.
Okay, just want to make
I will
sure
say
we're all
too,
clear on that, so.
And I'm glad to know all the concession stuff would be there. I was like, man.
That's a good one. It's not March 23rd yet. We have talked with Mr. Silkwood that one of the reasons why we thought this could work is because we felt like we would know by that time if the hockey project is going to move forward quickly after July 1 when the new budget starts. So the fact of possibly damaging a field is not as big a concern at that time. But he has agreed to pay for any damages if we have to play in the mud or whatever. I think you agreed to that. If not, you're about to.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions?
Just, while we're talking and while Mr. Silkwood's here, the $5 fee just got me to thinking about what all they've done out there and how impressive it is and how good it looks. And what you guys have done out there is admirable. I just learned something today that you guys actually drilled a well and have a pump out there
That was one
for
of the
irrigation.
That was one of the overruns.
Well.
We had to go 300 feet instead of 80. So
Okay.
we kept going. We had to hit to a certain, again, what I've learned over the past year, you got to have so many gallons per minute, something to field water enough for both fields. I was like, keep going. So
Well,
kept writing checks.
It's very admirable. It's very admirable what's going on out there, and
Thank
we
you.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I know a lot of work's gone into it that people may not realize what it takes to do something like that.
Yeah, we're looking forward to September 1 and seeing some cleats and some balls out there on some nice grass and moving forward.
So I'll make a motion. We approve this.
All right, Mr. White makes a motion.
I've got
you got one question?
I don't know whether it's a question or, I would like to see us include a waiver of the field fee for this tournament.
You prepared to make that motion in your motion?
Unless anybody has an issue with it, I don't mind amending my motion to waive the fee.
All right, state your motion again, Nathan, with that.
I move to approve this event, and that we waive the field fee for this particular event.
All right. Mr. Nathan White makes the motion. Mr. Jeremy seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Thank you.
Is that y'all I've been seeing practicing out there on my daughter plays lacrosse, so when we take her in, y'all been practicing down on the football field some?
I think so far in the first month, we might have been out there twice. It
look nice
Tom
out
tells me
there.
we won't be out there tomorrow, so I'm gonna have to figure something out, but I do thank you guys, and, do know I really want the rugby project I'm ready for the fields to be in and done and moved on, so, but we're getting there, so.
Thank you for all you've
again.
done, Mr. Super.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. All right, moving on. Eagle Scout Court of Honor at Beatty Farm event. Jeremy.
All right, so my name's Jeremy Krejci, and as we talked about earlier, I've been involved with several projects at the Beatty Farm with some Eagle Scouts. One of them was the barn, painted the barn, and then a second one we had, there was a piece of property that was donated by a couple, the Swanks, and it actually is a 12-foot easement that they gave, and it actually connects the two pieces now. So we actually have a piece of property now that connects both parks. And with that, we had an Eagle project where they actually connected the two properties with the trail and finished it out. So, and then we put a plaque up for the Eagle Scout project and representing the Swanks for their donation, because they actually donated the land for free. So, those two projects, and we have two other Eagle Scouts that have done local projects. They're asking to do their Court of Honor, which is when they actually receive their Eagle Scout at the farm. So it would be just some of the grass, right beside it, but just actually be by the barn. It's kind of a memorial thing for them for what they did. So since they were out there in that property. So there will be a total of 4 Eagle Scouts that will be represented on that, and it's mostly just their families, and then they'll have a couple officials that do the actual ceremony. And of course, I'll be there, and so that's what I'm asking for.
All right, Jeremy, I have been out there in a little bit. There won't be an issue parking-wise out there at all, 60 people?
I don't see there being. I mean, we had this last time with the fall event, there was probably 700. So I can put them, if it's rainy, I can put them up farther on the hill, and I can keep them away from. And with that being on a Sunday, I don't think the fire department will be there, right? So even if we have to keep them on the gravel, I can keep them out of damaging any of the property. So
I'm assuming we won't need to let Scotty and them know we're doing that. Will y'all do that yourselves?
Yes, we will notify Chief Bush.
All right, any questions? I'll entertain a motion to, Mr. Head makes the motion. I'm fishing to get Bubba.
We need to include in the motion that there's no fee for this, probably, my recommendation.
Passes.
All right, thank you guys, appreciate it. And women.
All right. Moving on. 19 Sports, Taylor Sanders.
I don't believe she's here, but I can go ahead and present this, and we can make a decision on it and vote on it. So that, if they do call back, we have an answer of what we want to do. I-9 Sports is a for-profit sports organization they put our office a couple times. And this last month they called requesting to use our green space areas to run their sports leagues. They run a soccer program, flag football program, and a baseball program. And there's some information in your packets of the programs that they offer and they run. They have a program in Mount Juliet, and they're looking to move to Hendersonville. You've probably seen their yard signs throughout the city. They've kind of popped up everywhere, but from my understanding is they're still looking for a space to host their games at. They play on weekends, they practice, and then they immediately go into a game. That's kind of their format. And so we basically just looking for an answer, when they call back and they ask for field space, what we need to do.
I think there's probably a place for this concept. I don't know that it's in competition with all of the successful, happy leagues and players and parents we have here.
where is available green space?
There's probably not a lot. Our flag football leagues use a lot of it for their practices throughout the week. I would also be concerned any green space in Drakes Creek Park, Veterans Park, Memorial Park. We're pretty much jam-packed with tournaments and our league play every weekend. I don't know if those parks can handle much more traffic, and so I don't think there'd be enough space in those parks to host something like this. There is green space at Sanders Ferry. I don't know if it's suitable for athletic play. I don't
I'm
know
ready
if our
to make a
maintenance
motion.
has inspected that to determine if that would be a good place to host athletics.
Mr. Head?
Okay. First, I don't know where, I agree with Darren, where are you going to find space? Secondly, if this was to be approved, they would have to meet all the requirements that all the other leagues do. Has that been discussed with them, that they got to do CPR, they got to have the coach's insurance and all the other things? And thirdly, nobody's here to represent them. I would vote just on that not to allow it.
Just one point to that. Because I actually talked to her because I wanted to find out more info. Just in case she calls any of you or calls our office too, like I filled them in. It's essentially a multi-level marketing scheme. Like if you want to run a franchise, you can. And so the whole deal, the reason why it's a little weird right now is that it's popping up everywhere. I mean, you drive around the city right now, there's signs everywhere. So no parents could get confused. So if you're out there, just do your research. I mean, even on the website, if you look on here, and I'm doing this mainly for the people that might watch this, it's fake reviews. If you read the reviews on here, they're fake reviews. So,
Well,
just want people to do their research.
I also want to kind of point out publicly here, page 24, it's just their baseball league. They're charging $160 for 7 weeks, which is one 30-minute practice and one 30-minute game. That is in direct competition with what we offer, and I will jointly sponsor a motion with Mr. Bowler that we do not approve this.
I will let Mr. Bowler do the motion and then, all right.
Yeah, I think we spent too much time on it already. I move that we not approve this.
All right, and Mr. Franklin seconds it. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right, we'll move on. All right, stick and ball TV, Andy Gilly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is something that we met with the Civitan baseball officials with. Stick and Ball TV came to us. They've recently created partnerships with college baseball coaches, professional coaches. Basically what it is an agreement that we will partner with them and with the Civitan Club to have the coaches and then parents have access to instructional videos that are done by professional people to give the kids something to take home with them, to give the coaches something that we can set up a channel where coaches could have a practice plan and you could actually be shown the proper way to do things. A lot of times what you'll have happen now is somebody will just Google something and might be no telling who is showing you how to do it. This is going to be proper people doing proper things. We will even be using some members of our local baseball community, like high school coaches, to do certain instructional segments. We've been trying to figure out ways. We've spent a lot of time with soccer talking about player development, and I've said publicly I wish that our baseball and softball leagues had access to coaches right there at practice like these guys do. So this is kind of a step towards that. I really like the concept. I think it's a good concept, and I wanted to make sure that you all were aware of it before all the marketing went out for it, because it'll be kind of, I'm sure Stick and Ball TV would do a press release saying that they're partnering with Hendersonville Parks, and but I wanted you all to approve it as well. There is a give back as well. If what the Civitan Club has agreed to do is purchase subscriptions for the coaches. If you remember a few months back, we had the graffiti advertising come in that we approved. That's kind of where that funding probably will be directed, to pay for all the coaches to have it. And then parents will be offered the opportunity to subscribe on their own, and the Parks Department will get a portion of the proceeds that the parents pay. That's in the end, that's where they'll make their money, is if a bunch of parents sign up for it for their kids at home. But I think the value for us is for coaches to have things to do at practice, instruction-wise, myself. If anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Questions for anybody? My only question is this, Andy. Let me see how I can word this, because I want to be careful with my words. As soccer has had development, and sometimes that soccer coach would, or that guy who was developing players would take a field back. Maybe they don't do that anymore. Back in the day, would take a field. They would rent. They would have a field. They would work with 3 or 4 guys. Is this good? What I don't want to happen. I think this is great, and I know a little bit about it. Some guys that are involved in it, especially one particular guy. Will it interfere with anything that's happening in the park, as far as will they be there with games, or it's going to interfere with it? You know where I'm going with that, what I'm saying?
All the instruction will be done. It's on your phone or your computer.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's not. They won't be coming out there.
Okay.
The other thing, now, what we could do that wouldn't interfere is we've already been put in touch with like a college hitting instructor who might come here and offer a camp.
I think that's great.
So I think there's a lot of positive to it from what I can tell. So.
Any questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to, Mr. Head of motions to approve it. Mr. White seconds it. All in favor? Saying aye? Aye. All right. Putting for a purpose, Andrea Weiss.
So part of my job is try to come up with new and different events, and I just felt that the golf course here doesn't get as much attention as it should. Maybe it's just me not being from this area, but I just feel like it doesn't get the attention it needs. In addition to the fact that I do like to putt-putt. So I thought this would be a fun event, no pressure. People from the community can just come, or whoever can come. For $5, they get 3 chances to get a hole-in-one, and then they can go into a drawing for a prize. I've already talked to Brad at the golf course about this. He's on board, and I have it scheduled for September 8th, which I guess is when the senior travel tournament is. So there will be a lot of people there to participate, and then all the proceeds comes back to the city.
Is that worded correctly at the bottom, Andy? Kind of like with the $5 for a putt as a not-for-profit? How do we need to, is that correct, or?
Oh.
Well, it's our event, so I don't know.
All right, I just want to make sure.
We're a not-for-profit organization.
That's
but
correct.
It probably needs to be changed to charitable fundraiser, and it needs to say Parks Department.
Just want to make sure we're all.
Sorry, I didn't read that.
No, that's fine.
Calling anybody out.
All right, any questions? Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve that.
Oh, Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry makes the motion to approve that. How about a second? Mr. Head, you second it? Mr. Head seconds it. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Oh, boy. First one. Yes.
That's the first one today. Good job. All right, Shakespeare in the Park, Greg Wilson. Turn that mic on and state your name.
Greg Wilson, I'm the founding artistic director for Actors Point Theater Company. Last year, it's always been a dream of mine to figure out how we can promote Shakespeare, promote theater, and drive some ECD to our city and our area. The poster child for this idea is a little place called Ashland, Oregon. If you look up the middle of nowhere in the dictionary, there's a picture of Ashland. It's about 3-4 hours south of Portland, Oregon, and 3 or 4 hours north of San Francisco. About 20,000 people live there, but 400,000 people visit there every year and leave their money and go home. And since they're in the middle of nowhere and we are in the middle of everywhere, and we got a lake, I decided to see if we could do something. So last year we actually went to Rock Castle, and we did on July 5th and 6th, which was, as you know, a holiday weekend, and we presented Henry V, which is not the most popular Shakespeare play, and not the most popular time to do a Shakespeare play, but we had actors from Prague and from LA and from all over, which is what we will bring in people from all over to do this. At any rate, all that to say, we had over 600 people come, 8 states represented, hotels, rooms sold, lots of people were really happy over 2 nights. And so we thought, Andy Gilley and I ran into each other at the restaurant, and he said, let's talk about this for Centers Ferry Park. We got beautiful vistas, we got lots of space, and certainly, it's one of my dreams is to have 5 of these shows going on all at once, all up and down the lake in Sumner County, which is why we call it the Sumner Plays Fine Arts Festival. But that's my story. And we do, like I say, we're the only theater company in Sumner County that hires professional actors from around, so the level of what we do. We've just become the theater company in residence at Vol State as well. So that you have a little bit of background, an 8-year track record here in town now. So that's the thinking. Thousands of people, and then tell them to go home.
Any questions? Give you all a few minutes to look over it.
Mr. Chairman, one thing we'll have to do with the new...
The wine.
Right. What they'll have to do is go, once they get approval from the beer board for the special event permit,
yeah,
and the site plan, will come back here to approve that portion of
And
this.
I really do need guidance, because we've had this discussion, hey, would you want to do wine, would you want to do this, what? And we're like, we're an open book, you know, right on us. You know, I have a deep-founded commitment to wanting to make sure, because I've been a children's pastor, I want to make sure that we honor the cities that we're in and be honorable in the kinds of things that we represent. At the same time, a bottle of wine's a bottle of wine, you know. So but we want guidance.
Yeah, we'll be able to work with you on that, and we'll have to get the beer board to approve their permit and plan, and then we'll bring that portion of it back here for approval.
So we need to approve this tonight, and then we'll approve the second part of that later.
Correct.
Yes, Mr. Jeremy?
One thing I did want to clarify, the $10 ticket, is that for both nights, or is that just for one night?
So, yeah, for your entrance is
So
one
just
night.
one night, okay. So
Yes, yeah, $10 ticket for
Got it.
one night. And of course, being a 501c3 nonprofit, we're just trying to raise funds to continue these kinds of things.
Gotcha.
And pay people to come from LA or wherever they're coming from.
I do. The total attendance, 600 to 1,000. Are you thinking that each night, or between the two.
Oh, I'd
between
love to have
nights.
1,000 people
Yeah.
a night, but, I think realistically, if we can get 500 to 600 a night with
night.
growth,
Okay.
and in looking at the space, there's certainly easy ways to do that.
Mr. Gilly, would we need, I guess, maybe police help down there? Not, would we need that?
Something in that same realm would be parking, like with the chamber. They actually hired a parking company.
Yes.
And I would highly recommend, if you're expecting that many cars per night, to have a parking company.
Yeah, that's certainly an expectation, is to think about that. We're going to have to think about some overnight security, because I'm going to bring a sound system and some lighting in there as well.
Make a note to not only parking, but a portable light for the parking area would be important too.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, Rock Castle last year had all that strung out lighting that you could go over the parking lots and stuff, and so we did that.
Have you decided what you're going to perform?
We're going to do Much Ado About Nothing, which has nothing to do with the BOMA meeting. It has to do with I was kidding, you guys. It's supposed to be funny. Oh gosh, now I'm in trouble. Much Ado About Nothing, which is a way more popular offering.
All right, do anybody have any more questions? Anybody want to make a motion to approve, disapprove this, whatever?
I move to approve.
All right, Mr. Bowling moves to approve. Do I have a second? Mr. Perry seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Just get with Andy on the beer board, and we'll bring that back, and once you get all that straight, we can vote on that too. So, all right?
Thank you. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. All right, lacrosse banner for game days, Greg Mitchell and Andy Gilly. Come on up, Greg.
I don't believe you have any paperwork in your packet about this, but I went and met with the lacrosse board earlier this year, and kind of filled them in on some things some other clubs do for fundraising opportunities. One of the things we talked to them about was game day signage. A lot of the sports, the school sports we have signs. They put them out for the game. They take them down unless they're playing back-to-back days, and they can leave them up. So I think Mr. Mitchell and his board have started a program, hopefully, and we just need to give them the approval to do that, I believe. That's it.
Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Mitchell?
I have one question.
All right.
Have you thought about where you're going to store them on the days that you're not playing?
Yes, we have, as it turned out, we have a family that is, we call in this family Friends of Lacrosse, and they actually have a home right on Cherokee there. And they have a shed right near Memorial Park. So they've given us the green light to store the banners there. So
Cool.
that worked out
Cool, that's
well.
convenient.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. You got a question, Mr. Bowling?
I do not.
Any questions? Mr. Mitchell, I think this is a great idea. Was approached by that last week when I talked to some of the people from the women's side, but I think it's a good idea. I think it may help along the way where we're trying to go with that.
Yep.
So I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Jeremy takes a motion. Do I have a second? What is it, Jeremiah? I like this. Jeremiah, then. Excuse me. Can I have a second? Mr. Franks seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Call me just whenever. I need to ask you a question sometime. All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Greg.
Let me have that. I'm gonna keep that on here. Man, I think you need to be the second chair here is what I think. So, special events list, I don't think,
It's
you got any
attached.
questions on that at all? All right, I'm moving on to staff reports. Ms. Hamblin. I didn't say Mr. I said Miss. I caught myself.
Okay, thank you. Raptors basketball has come to an end. The new uniforms look good on them this year, and then we were able to have 2 exhibition games that we attended. One was at Station Camp High School, and one was at Merrill Hyde. Both were great experiences, and the schools were very receptive and welcoming to our visits. And our kids love going to the high schools and having the crowd go wild when they're out there when they make shots. And the way we did it, we worked it out where I tried to stand by the announcer, so I would give them their name so they could hear their name being announced as well. We're currently still looking at our plans for summer programs. We will be sending out information about the summer programs really soon. Raptors baseball has registration going on now. It started on February 19th and it runs through March 27th. The cost is $35, so everyone needs to begin making plans to get registered for this as well. The season will run from the beginning of April through mid-May, and then kickball will follow that sport. As far as summer program employees, I'll be sending a letter out to last year's camp workers to state their intent on returning back to work. Once I get their replies, I will begin taking applications for any new positions that I might have. I usually send that information to all the schools to be posted when getting ready to take applications, and hopefully all the principals announce that to the students. The letters should be sent out around mid-March, and the application process for new hires should take place around mid-April. And then on April 7th, we'll have our Easter Spring Fling event here at City Hall from 3 to 5 p.m. Children can come in up to age 12, play games in the departments, win eggs, candy, and/or prizes, and they need to bring their own baskets, and they might see the Easter Bunny hopping around. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Hamlin?
Ms. Hamlin, you'll have to find a new bunny this year. I have a conference that day.
Not acceptable.
It's a hot suit. Just a hot suit. Mr. Chairman, before you go any further, our staff had the privilege last Thursday of attending the Women Impacting the Community Luncheon at Bluegrass Country Club. And Ms. Hamlin was nominated for the nonprofit category among 20 or so other women from our city who are phenomenal ladies as well. But she was named the 2020 Woman Impacting the Community. I want to make sure we all give her thanks, and everybody watching on TV says thank you. So congratulations and well done.
Recognition Coordinator, Wade Evans.
All right, cool. Can't really follow that up. Great award. We did actually launch all of our registrations today for some of our adult leagues going on, a couple of high school ones and youth ones as well. But a couple of things we did add this year, Ultimate Frisbee. There's a large group that's been playing in our park just randomly when they can find a field. So after talking with them, they really want to try to do a league this year. So that is out there if you want to play Ultimate Frisbee. We also added the option of a free agent, what that looks like. If somebody just moved here, maybe they don't have a team they can play with, we are able to actually add them as a free agent, and then we'll help find them a team. Or if there's enough free agents, they'll be their own team. And we've given that option for Ultimate Frisbee, kickball, and softball. Our Babe Ruth 13 to 15-year-old league is taking registrations for individual signups, or new for this year as well, a team can sign up as an actual team if they would like to as well. And Ben, I know you said you like softball. We got softball registrations are live today, as well as kickball. So, yeah, that's it.
Any questions for Mr. Evans? Thank you, Mr. Evans. Appreciate it. All right. Special Events Program Supervisor, Andrea Weiss, the putt-putt queen.
Yes, sir. That's the only kind of golf I do. So the 2019 Music City Tribeca Tournament was supposed to kick off our events this year. Unfortunately, because of the weather we experienced, it was canceled. Following that up was the HHS Play Day last Saturday. They had around 10 teams, or roughly about 175 players participate. Upcoming events is full of softball games. We got the Station Camp High School Play Day this weekend. We've got the Beach High School Play Day next weekend, and then it just continues with the HHS Commando Classic, the Beach Bash Middle School Tournament, the GMB Preseason Cowboy Classic, and then in there we've got the HHS JV Classic Soccer Tournament.
All right, any questions for Ms. Wise? Assistant Maintenance Supervisor Jeremy.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. We've been doing some few things over at Inline Hockey to get prepared for the upcoming season. Trinity Group was here last week, made some repairs to the sports court surface. We had some damage in that last flood, and we were waiting until closer to season to make those repairs just in case we had some high water again. We had a few little fencing issues to take care of and a scoreboard repair. Everything's been ready and done this past week, so they're ready to go. You'll see a new sign coming in at Drake's Creek there by the football parking lot. Last year that sign got hit by a car. We kind of put it back up to get through the year, and Andy had lined up getting the work done around the signs, the landscaping, so we decided we'd upgrade that sign. So hopefully here in the next week or so you'll see a new sign coming up there. We opened up the Veterans Ball Field restrooms, Field 12 and 13, and quad restrooms last weekend just in preparation for the tournaments. You'll see Saunders Ferry restrooms in the dog park coming open here in the next couple of weeks once we know the cold weather's moved out. They don't have any heaters in them, so we have to wait until we know it's not going to freeze anymore. Front soccer restroom remodel is complete. They look great. Thank you to the Hendersonville Rec Soccer Club for a wonderful donation. It was definitely much needed, and it's really nice. If you're at the park, you need to go check them out. The stairs that lead to the quad press box, you'll be seeing some upgrades going on there. We painted those a couple weeks ago, and I've got Line-X of Nashville coming in. They're making some step covers that have a textured Line-X tread. Those are old. That's the oldest building I'm pretty sure that we have in the parks. The metal was getting very slippery, and on wet conditions they were becoming an issue. So that was something we worked on over the winter, and hopefully it'll be done here soon. We refinished the basketball backboards and rims down at football parking lot. 2 of those are back in place. I'm waiting on a bracket to get repaired on the other one. We'll get those back up. They hadn't been done in several years. It was something, I think Andy saw it and pointed it out, and we jumped on it. It was a good rainy day project. You'll see several new faces down at the parks. We've got a couple new part-time guys that came on over the last couple of weeks. I've got 2 more that are in the hiring process now that will hopefully be starting in a couple of weeks. One of our full-time employees has accepted a position somewhere else. It worked out good. Another one of our part-time guys was on the eligibility list. So somewhere around the 1st of March, he'll be coming in full-time. We had a full-time employee that, thanks to Andy and the Board of Aldermen and the mayor and everyone, we were able to make a position change. So we now have an equipment operator 3, which was much needed. Interesting fact about that was a position that was originally created in the Parks Department. And then over the years, we didn't fill it. And so it's nice to have that position back in the parks, because with all the construction we're doing, that is a must for sure. Appreciate y'all being here. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Jeremy? I've got one. Mr. Bowen?
Is that new lining robot yours, part of you? Nope, that's...
Yes, yes, it falls under the maintenance, and it's one of my employees that is running it. We've got a couple guys that are cross-trained on it, but Troy Jandera is who is mainly going to run it for now. If he's on vacation, we've got some other fellows that can step in also. It's been a learning curve. We figured out a few things we need to make it all work. We had some issues with some software, worked some of that out. It's amazing what a straight line it puts down. I think that right now we're kind of in a crunch with the weather trying to get it done. He's running the robot at a higher ground speed than I think we will in the future. And I think what you'll see is when we're able to slow the ground speed down, when we've got good conditions and we're not in a rush to try to get it done, I think you're going to see the quality of the paint quality. The line, the straightness of is beautiful. It's just a little, not as dark as what I thought. I really thought they would pop a little more, but after we started doing some research on the speed that we're utilizing, we think slowing it down, and we'll be able to do that later on. I think it's going to make a big difference with what the line quality looks like in the color.
Thank you, Mr. Jeremy. Appreciate it, all you do down there. Assistant Director, Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tennessee United has began practice. They started up last week, and their first game will be this weekend. Rec soccer, they won't start up until next Monday for practice, and then their games will begin following spring break. Middle school soccer is just getting started, and their first games here at Drakes Creek will be the second week of March. Lacrosse practice has been ongoing for probably the last month or so, and their first game day will be this weekend as well. And then flag football is just getting started. They're going to have their player draft this week, and then practice will be beginning next week. And then their games will also start sometime after spring break.
Any questions for Mr. Long? Thank you, Mr. Long. Appreciate it. All right, Assistant Director, Mr. Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. Pike. Fast pitch, as the local league is doing sign-ups, so they're ongoing. The Fast Pitch Middle School League is 3 for 3 on rainouts, 2 last week and tonight, so they're batting 1,000 with the Middle School League, and tomorrow night doesn't look good. Spring Middle School Baseball, they are practicing now and working on a game schedule. They'll start probably second week of March. Civitan Baseball started practicing, got about 40 teams. The Civitan Open teams are practicing also. Hockey, they did some evaluations this past weekend. Still doing a few late sign-ups, and we'll get them started. The basketball, the youth basketball, the grades 1 through 9. Last Saturday, the tournament started. They played Saturday and Sunday. There's a few games, few semifinals going on tonight. Saw Mr. White refereeing on Sunday, did a great job. I'd like to say thank you to him. No issues on the game he was working. After tonight, they decided, which I agree with, they're going to do all the finals in one gym on next Saturday instead of doing them during the week. So next Saturday at Ellis from 9 till about 6, every hour on the hour, we will be doing basketball finals. So if you get bored next Saturday, come on by and you can watch some interesting basketball championship day in the Park League. So, and also in that same note, I want to thank publicly Chris Ginn for the basketball. He is the basketball director for Civitan. His first year, or their first year, Civitan's running the basketball league with our help. And he has done a great job, put a lot of time and effort into it. I wanted to publicly thank him and Civitan for the cooperation in our basketball league. Thing that Mr. Bubba may be interested in is senior men, softball. I think he needs to get back into it. They're still doing sign-ups. Talked to their commissioner this week. They're going to do a little evaluations and then start games up the first part of April. Thank you, sir.
Any questions for Mr. Bruce? All right. Thank you, Mr. Bruce. And I agree with you about Bubba. I think he needs to be back in it. All right. Parks Director, Mr. Gilly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Keith or Dallas, either one, will be in touch with you all about setting a date very quickly for the athletic committee meeting that we're going to have to discuss some discipline issues in the basketball league. We're going to do that sooner rather than later. And we're kind of gathering some information to give you ahead of time as far as some possibilities, but we definitely need to put some things in place for next year going forward. Be on the lookout for an email from me in the next few days about a little ceremony we'll have with the Conway Twitty family as we get those street signs put up where we renamed the road going through Drakes Creek Park. Probably be sometime first or second week of March. Just be on the lookout for that. We will soon, Jeremy can tell us probably exactly when we will have a night part-time person at the park at night, a maintenance person.
That's one of the new faces I was speaking of. Michael Alexander came on with us part-time. Today was his first day. He'll probably be on days for 2 to 3 weeks. And then I've asked Dylan, who was our part-time employee that covered the nights last year, he's going to come in and work at least a week or two on the evenings. So I'm going to guess 3 weeks, hopefully, we'll see somebody in there. He'll be working like a 3 to 9 shift Monday through Friday.
That's very helpful to us when we get calls about hornets' nests under bleachers or bathrooms busted. It's a good thing to have somebody down there. I'll be going over the budget process with Mr. Lamar and the finance director throughout the next, 2 to 3 weeks. If you all have any suggestions about projects, things you'd like to see, anything at all, please send them to me. And I can't promise you that it'll be in there, but I'm taking all suggestions at this point and trying to put together a budget. You all will get a look at it, hopefully, at our March or April meeting for your approval. That's one of your processes. And then last thing, just, we've got a lot going on with several staff members. I sent you all an email about, please keep those guys in your prayers and thoughts. Just got a lot going on with a lot of people. We've got a great staff. It is a blessing to work with these people every day. And, sometimes we forget some things that are, of all the things we get wound up about, there's a lot of things a lot more important. So just please keep those guys in your prayers. Appreciate it. That's all.
Any questions from Mr. Gilley? Thank you, Mr. Gilley. Appreciate it. All right. We're down to the round table. Mr. Perry, you have anything? Mr. Bowling.
I would like to congratulate Trey Bates from Beach, who won his second state wrestling championship this weekend. He won it at 120 pounds. And Mason Smith, also from Beach, won at 152 pounds. He was a two-time finalist. Both those guys are juniors, so hopefully be able to make an announcement back to them next year. Thanks.
Mr. Bennett.
Congratulations, Ms. Hamlin, well deserved. You got it.
Mr. Franks.
Yeah, very quickly, I'd like to echo congratulations, Ms. Hamlin. Thank you for all you do for our community and our citizens. Also want to just bring everybody's attention back to the unbelievable facility of Mary's Magical Place. I know that that's something that is definitely an attraction. Saw on the news this past weekend that there are several other communities that have realized the impact and are actively looking to pattern places and parks after that, which I think is a phenomenal outreach, and I wish them well and hope that if they run into any snags, they'll reach out to our unbelievable staff and planning to make sure we get those up and running. But that's kudos to the vision and the hard work of the people who, that group of women who was relentless to get Mary's Magical Place from concept to vision to what it is now, and for the park staff, all the people that behind the scenes to do that. So it's good outreach from our city to others.
Thank you, Mr. Franks. Mr. White? Mr. Head?
Just, Cindy, you make Hendersonville a great place to live, work, and play, so congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Head. And I will second, third, and fourth everything everybody said about you, Ms. Hamlin, tonight. I've been around a long time. I've known you a long time, and what you do every day for those kids is phenomenal, and I appreciate it. I will accept a motion to adjourn. Mr. Bennett makes the motion. A second. Right here. Mr. Bowling seconds. All in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.